the CIA's forgotten psychic spy program. Secrets from Project Stargate. Welcome. This is History in the Shadow. Subscribe, US, please. Let's start the story. Imagine a world where wars weren't fought with weapons, but with the mind. It sounds like science fiction, but in the 1970s, deep inside America's most secret intelligence agencies, the CIA and the Pentagon poured millions of dollars into a classified program. Their goal? To train psychic spies capable of reading minds, locating enemy bases, and even predicting future events. The project was called Stargate, and for 2 decades, the U.S. government employed men and women with claimed extrasensory perception, ESP, to fight the Cold War against the Soviet Union. Declassified documents reveal missions where remote viewers described enemy missile sites thousands of miles away with eerie accuracy. Others sketched top-secret Soviet submarines years before satellites confirmed their existence. But here's the chilling part. Some files suggest the program uncovered more than just enemy secrets. They touched on mysteries of time, consciousness, and even life beyond Earth. Why did the CIA shut the program down? Was it because it didn't work? Or because it worked too well? Tonight, we peel back the curtain on Project Stargate, a story of secrecy, skepticism, and the shocking possibility that the mind itself might be the ultimate weapon. Cold War paranoia. The late 1960s and early 70s were an age of paranoia. The Cold War wasn't just fought with bombs and spies. It was fought in the mind. In 1969, CIA analysts were stunned by intelligence reports claiming the Soviet Union was spending millions on psychic research. Soviet scientists were allegedly experimenting with telepathy, psychokinesis, and what they called bioinformation transfer. Rumors swirled of Soviet psychics who could kill animals with their minds, move objects without touching them, even influence human thoughts from hundreds of miles away. To American intelligence, it didn't matter whether these stories were true or exaggerated. What mattered was the terrifying what if. What if the Soviets really were weaponizing the human mind? So the CIA decided to fight fire with fire. They poured funding into strange laboratories, hired scientists, and recruited ordinary citizens who claimed they had psychic abilities. The mission: test, train, and deploy psychic spies against America's enemies. But to understand how this bizarre program began, we need to travel to one of the strangest government labs in California, where a group of physicists were about to gamble their careers on the supernatural. The birth of Project Stargate in the early 1970s at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, in Menlo Park, physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff were studying lasers and advanced electronics. But their careers took an unexpected turn when they decided to test claims of psychic ability. They recruited a former police officer and artist named Ingo Swann. Swann claimed he could see places and objects hidden from him. To test him, the scientists sealed random objects in envelopes and asked him to describe them. To their shock, Swann sketched the shapes and details with uncanny accuracy. Word reached the CIA, and suddenly, SRI's small psychic experiments turned into a government-funded program. The project evolved through many names: Grill Flame, Sunstreak, Centerlane, but eventually became known by one chilling title: Project Stargate. At its core was a technique called remote viewing, the ability to describe locations, objects, and events without being physically present. And according to declassified files, some of the results were too accurate to ignore. One psychic reportedly described a secret Soviet research site so precisely that the CIA dispatched satellites to confirm, and found the details matched. But if the psychic spies were real, what exactly did they see? And could the human mind truly spy across the globe? The missions, once the CIA had trained a handful of remote viewers, the real test began. One of the earliest missions targeted a Soviet military facility. A psychic was asked to describe what was behind a sealed security fence in Siberia. Without knowing anything about the site, the viewers sketched a massive crane, strange spherical tanks, and a tall gantry structure. Months later, satellite reconnaissance confirmed it, a new Soviet weapons lab under construction. In another case, the Army tasked a psychic with locating a downed bomber in Africa. Despite having no maps or coordinates, the viewer described a desert landscape, a river, and a wrecked plane partially buried in sand. The military team flew to the region and found the bomber within a few miles of the description. The most famous case involved viewer Joseph McMonigle. In the early 1980s, McMonigle was asked to view a top-secret Soviet submarine project. He drew a detailed sketch of a huge submarine with a unique double-hull design. Intelligence officers dismissed it as fantasy, until satellites later confirmed the existence of the Typhoon-class submarine, the largest ever built. Shocking successes and failures for every eerie success. There were also bizarre failures. Some psychics gave wildly inaccurate readings, describing underground alien bases or predicting events that never happened. One viewer insisted the Soviets were building a psychic laser cannon. Another claimed to have traveled back in time and witnessed dinosaurs. And yet, mixed among these wild claims were the accurate hits that CIA officers couldn't explain. One mission asked a viewer to locate a kidnapped U.S. general in Italy. The psychic described a large walled villa near water. The general was later rescued from exactly such a location. In another case, psychics were asked to locate Muammar Gaddafi's bunker in Libya. Their descriptions were close enough that U.S. jets bombed the target. But perhaps the strangest files describe missions beyond Earth. Ingo Swann once claimed to remote view the planet Jupiter and described rings around the planet. Astronomers laughed. Years later, probes confirmed Jupiter did indeed have faint rings, previously unseen from Earth. Skeptics argue these were just coincidences. Believers claim they were proof of something far stranger, that the human mind could reach across time and space. But if Project Stargate showed promise, why did the CIA shut it down? The answer lies in the shadows of politics, secrecy, and fear. The cover UPS by the late 1980s, Project Stargate had produced thousands of reports, sketches, transcripts, and mission files. Some were jaw-droppingly accurate, others total nonsense. Inside the CIA, opinions were divided. A few officers championed the program, arguing it provided unique intelligence. Others dismissed it as woo-woo science and a waste of taxpayer money. But here's the twist. Even while critics mocked it, the files show the program kept receiving steady funding. Why? Because when the stakes were high, hostage crises, hidden missile sites, terrorist hunts, the government was willing to try anything. Yet the secrecy was extreme. Stargate wasn't just hidden from the public, it was hidden from most of the military. Even presidents were briefed only vaguely. And whenever results leaked, they were quickly dismissed as coincidence. In 1991, after the Soviet Union collapsed, skeptics inside the government pushed to shut Stargate down. They argued there was no longer a psychic arms race, and that continued funding risked embarrassment if the program was exposed. But believers whisper another reason. Some of the sessions touched on topics too disturbing to reveal. Why Stargate ended in 1995, the CIA finally declassified portions of Project Stargate. The official line was simple. Psychic research showed no operational value. But dig deeper into the files, and the story gets murkier. The CIA's own commissioned review admitted that some results were statistically significant. In other words, the psychics were right more often than chance. Yet the agency concluded the data was too inconsistent for reliable use. Critics say the shutdown was political. Psychic spying was too strange, too embarrassing for a government that wanted to appear rational. Funding had dried up, the Cold War was over, and no one wanted to explain to taxpayers why millions were spent on psychics sketching submarines. But believers see another possibility, that Stargate wasn't shut down at all, only buried deeper under a new name. After all, if psychic spying really worked even part of the time, would any government truly abandon it? Some declassified notes even suggest experiments went beyond intelligence gathering, into attempts to influence minds, predict the future, and explore non-human intelligences. Those files remain redacted to this day. Which raises the question, what if the program continues in secret even now? In 2001, a journalist interviewed former Project Stargate viewer Joseph McMonigle. When asked if the program was truly over, McMonigle smiled and said, "They'll never stop. Not when it works." Other insiders hinted that parts of Stargate splintered off into private contractors, hidden under layers of defense budgets where oversight was minimal. And then there are the strangest claims of all. Declassified files reveal sessions where psychics reported seeing alien structures on the Moon and Mars. One transcript has a viewer describing a massive pyramid on Mars, occupied by tall beings in robes, waiting for rescue. The CIA dismissed these as fantasy. But remember, many fantasies from Stargate, like Jupiter's rings, turn out to be true. So here's the unsettling question. If even 1% of the program's results were accurate, what secrets about our world and the universe might still be locked inside classified vaults? For 20 years, the U.S. government secretly employed psychic spies. Some of their missions remain classified, their results never revealed. Officially, the CIA insists it was a failure. But the declassified files tell another story. Moments of eerie accuracy, intelligence hits no one can explain, and glimpses into mysteries far beyond human understanding. So was Project Stargate a joke? A Cold War experiment gone wrong? Or was it the beginning of something much bigger? Proof that the human mind has powers we can't yet comprehend? Here's what we know. The documents are real, the missions happened, and someone believed enough to spend millions of dollars chasing the unknown. The rest is up to you. What do you think? Did Stargate uncover real secrets of the mind? Or was it all smoke and mirrors? Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button if this story blew your mind. And subscribe for more hidden history bombshells every week. Because the truth is stranger than fiction. And this was only the beginning.